Welcome back to the F&W Game Club coverage of E3. We are talking about the Sony press conference that just happened. It was pretty great. Definitely not the best conference. Xbox definitely locked that in this year so far, but Sony brought it in a big way as well. Maybe the second best conference in my estimation. Let's jump right into it. We can let's talk about Days Gone first. Chris, you can take us to 10:10. Yeah, and Days Gone. Kind of interesting. It feels a lot like, in a loose sense, it's a lot like Last of Us as far as the context. It's sort of post-apocalyptic zombie world. They don't call them zombies. They have some other term for them in the game.
Dude, running zombies are terrifying.
Yeah, they're like the World War Z zombies where they're running and piling on each other and they're going psycho. And the zombies, and it's also an open world. You'll see here in the gameplay, he gets on his motorcycle and he is... driving through an open world here. Some really cool things actually happen. We can totally watch right now. First of all, there seems to be like kind of a random event that's set up where some dogs are chewing on a guy. I think it's about to happen right here. And he stops to take a look at it. And you kind of decide, do I really want to deal with this? Do I want to deal with it right now?
Nay.
Yeah, I guess it's a little longer than I thought. But here it is. I think this is where it happens. So he's like, do I want to deal with that? And then I don't think so.
Come back for his bike later.
But watch the zombie. By the way, there's zombie wolves. And watch one of them starts chasing him. Yes. And he has to deal with it. He's going to shoot it or something. I can't remember.
Chris, do you remember?
Yes.
Do you remember Road Rash?
But check that out. That's what I was waiting for.
That would decapitate you.
So I thought this was cool though. There's like traps set in the world by people who are going to jump you. And so it makes it's a different way to design an open world, making it a dangerous open world instead of like a living, breathing one. It's one where you're just going to get screwed at every corner, which is nice. And
could you say I hate cutscenes where you have to tap buttons?
Stamp.
I hate cutscenes that make you tap buttons.
Well, I think it's more my impression of that is it's more teaching you the fighting mechanics.
Oh yeah, maybe it's early on, so.
Yeah, so it's fighting it's the fighting mechanics. Like press B to escape attack, whatever.
Body's still warm.
Yeah. So then he goes on from here. It seemed like the mission was he's after one of their people who got stuck in some other clan's territory or gangs territory.
Are they going to clash? You think?
Is it going to be a clash of clans? I don't know. And pretty good. What did you think, Josh, watching this one? You've played Last of Us.
Yeah, I'm the first one to tell anybody that if zombies can run, I'm just going to take a cyanide pill because I am not dealing with that. I like and admire his gusto for being willing to live in a post-apocalyptic world. I think post-apocalyptic bears look pretty sweet.
Why don't you jump to 1400?
But I like the gameplay. It reminds me of a cross between Last of Us and Nathan Drake. A little bit, so he's like a more rugged version of Nathan Drake in this world of
the Last of Drake
death. Yeah, the Drake of Us.
Maybe this is, from now on I'm going to imagine this is the story of Nathan Drake on the right.
Oh yeah. Okay,
the story. He set a bear trap in that corner, and then he threw a rock to lead a guy to the bear trap. And then he gets the bear trap.
So rad, dude. I've never played a game where bear traps were an available tool to kill with.
Yeah, that's not true. But and then all of them go.
I've never played.
Okay. Then all of them go to check that out, which is like it's the point of this game. It's not so much to be in your face with in the face with guns and weapons and but about using the environment and traps to your advantage. We get a little bit more of that here in a second. He's gonna go down to this area. He just saw that down in that ravine or that river or whatever, there's a bunch of whatever their zombies are in this game. I can't remember that word. It's like a dumb name. Game looks great, just not how they name the zombies.
It's a good thing zombies don't smell very well.
Skip ahead 20 seconds, Chris, 30 seconds. And what's going to happen is he decides to use them as a trap to clear out some space. So he sees that He can't deal with all of these guys here. There's way too many to engage.
And his buddy's up there that he's looking for.
And his buddy is up there. So that's the guy we're trying to save. We're trying to find. And skip another. Well, no, this is good. So then he puts a bomb here, I guess.
Is that detonate charge. There's an abundance of those laying around in the post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, that's all they have.
That and bear traps.
No medicine, but lots of bombs. Blows it up, and then you can get it.
This is weird. I hated how this happened during the show.
Yeah, well, it was just the stream was slowing down. And then you'll see this is what their zombie looks like. It's much more of a World War Z, kind of a big crowd. In other trailers, there's been 1,000 of these guys at once.
This is why I'm taking a cyanide pill. I'm not looking to deal with any of that mess.
There's a good number of NPCs on screen at one time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So the first trailer for this game that was, I think, during PSX, showed off like
I
hundreds
also
and hundreds
appreciate the
of
way that
zombies
he
at
walks
once.
up a ladder.
He actually gets every rung.
Yep. Just appreciate the attention to detail.
And then this is just some plot stuff here. I don't think they do much after this, right?
No, I mean, we just deal with the bear. The bear looks pretty sweet and is worth
Oh,
looking
right.
at.
It
Let's
ends
look at
with
the bear.
a zombie
And
bear.
It'll come up right now. I like, and actually, if you were watching the live stream, there is a little bit of witty banter that goes back and forth there, so that's kind of cool that there's a little bit of humor with the characters.
Yeah.
And then giant bear, just so rad.
Remember, you
dude.
don't have to be faster than the bear.
You just gotta be faster than that guy.
It's been a tough time for Nathan Drake in the Last of Us world. Days gone. All right, why don't we go back to 6 minutes flat. This is a trailer for the next Uncharted. Definitely, it seems like it was an Uncharted DLC, Uncharted 4 DLC, 6 minutes, that has now been kind of expanded to be its own standalone
Which is
thing.
kind of a bummer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, would you have the DLC or have it expanded, or what are you thinking?
I'd rather be nothing. I'd rather just the series be
You
over.
want the story to be
Yeah,
over?
it was a good story. It should have ended, and they should just go get new jobs.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I think the makers of the game Naughty Dog really wanted the story of Nathan Drake to be done. So they probably said to Sony, this is the last Uncharted. And then Sony's like, well, Uncharted sells a lot, so how about we make it somebody else's story now? And they were like, well, who have we not really dug into that much? Chloe. She was in Uncharted 2 and in Uncharted 3, a little bit in 4, like just for a brief second. So let's now use Chloe
Two
as the main
female
character.
strong leads I haven't seen before. I'm not terribly familiar with that.
Well, Chloe's been in. She's never been a lead, but she's been in Uncharted 2 and 3. But the other girl, is that Nadine from Uncharted 4?
I think so. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
She was one of the villains, one of the
Villains, yeah.
antagonists in Uncharted 4.
So it would be kind of cool. First of all, it's cool to see two female leads. Good thing.
Yeah.
But also it'll be
facing
cool
off
to-
against the white guy. That's
Yeah.
cool too.
It'd be cool to see kind of how their relationship pans out there because she is an antagonist in the last one. So that might be for an interesting conundrum.
I can't tell from the way they've developed her face, Chloe's face.
Boom! Oh, a little bit of backstabbery right there.
I can't tell from the way they've developed Chloe's face and Nadine's face whether this is younger or older than the way she was in like Uncharted 4 or 3.
Maybe it's the same.
Yeah, just curious whether it's supposed to be a prequel or a sequel, or if they're just going to keep it like
Do they
no reference.
Do they do anything with the Nathan Drake story? Do they reference it at all, you think?
No,
Oh, Nathan's retired now. Let's go on an adventure.
They didn't say anything quite like that.
All right.
No.
Well,
Not that I remember. So that's The Lost Legacy. It was mostly trailer. It gave some plot, showed the antagonist, but not much more than that.
Everybody's on the phones.
Well, they're probably doing updates on Twitter. Okay, let's
Or they're
go
playing Clash.
to 3952. And this is where they gave a bunch of stuff for God of War. This was really awesome. Is that 3942? All right, a little early. Okay, so this trailer starts with him on a boat rowing with his son, and they're off to find something. It doesn't really explain what. And what's happening is Kratos, the main character, is telling his son, kind of instructing him that he needs to be hard, right? He needs to stop having all these feelings. Yeah, you got to man up if you're going to kill a bunch of people. Probably good advice, right? If you're going to kill a bunch of people, you better man up.
Well, the advice my dad gave to me was
Before we killed a bunch of people. Also, there was some question about how this game connects to the original God of Wars. It kind of seems to me like it's just Kratos, but some people were questioning maybe it's a guy that's like Kratos or like like reborn or something, and like how does this connect? And there's a little clue if you jump over to 4120 for me, Chris. There's a little connection here where somebody's talking about Kratos, and we see this scene. Here it comes, where he looks at a pot, and on the pot is Kratos with his original God of War blades. And he's looking at it, and it seems to be referencing his old life there when he says that, if you could hear what the narrator was saying. So this is Kratos. This isn't some other Kratos or a reborn Kratos or anything like that. This is the God of War from the previous games. Older now in the Norse realm. Hopefully
and probably
killing every Norse
really
god.
cold.
Yeah, because he's used to the nice Greek weather. At Mount Olympus was always sunny and warm, I guess. Until Kratos ruined it all. Combat looks great. It's different because if you play previous God of War games, you are able to engage numerous NPCs with your spinning swords on their chains, the Mount Olympus blades, whatever they're called, and you're really like crowd controlling lots of guys at once, whereas this one is now more about fighting, like engaging one or two at a time. And I think I like this better. The other God of War games got kind of tiresome with how much you were just careening through bunches of guys that were meaningless. I wanted to kind of focus a bit more, make the combat a bit more engaging. You ever play these kind of games, Chris?
No.
No? Not at all?
I haven't played any of the God of War games.
Well, I don't mean God of War, but like, these style of games.
Hack and slash?
Hack and slash, yeah.
Not really.
No, not your thing? How about
No.
you, Josh?
Nah.
You guys suck.
Mhm.
You guys are the worst co-hosts ever. There was some climbing that we missed
Yeah,
a
that's
bit.
probably true, actually.
Yeah, it could be. Also, big monsters galore, just like we're used to. A real focus on the drama, because, I mean, the plot of God of War has always been rage. That was the plot.
I thought you were
But
gonna
now
say
there's
something
actually...
else. Surprise!
Surprise! But there's also lots of plot and story and more character development in this one. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to having a version of Kratos that's got a bit more nuance to him. I mean, he's still angry. He's still a murderer. But he has an actual legitimate relationship with somebody in this game. And we can see how that matters for the plot and for the continuing of his story. Let's move on, Chris. Let's see. Let's talk about... If you would, please skip to 4506, or you can even go to like 46. Let's go to 46 even. This is further trailer for Detroit Become Human, game by Quantic Dream. They're I believe they're a third party. I don't think they're technically a second party, but their games for the last 10 years have all been exclusive to the PlayStation consoles. This, of course, their bread and butter is decision making, lots of narrative, a bit more agency than a Telltale game, but still a real focus on decision making, a bit more environmental movement than a Telltale game, but still kind of you remember they made Heavy Rain, they made what was the other one? The one Soul? No, what was the one we played?
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls. That was it.
Such a good game.
I like that a lot more than most people
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
There was a lot of complaining. I thought it was a pretty solid game.
That's the one with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what I like about Heavy Rain a bit more, but Beyond Two Souls is pretty good, is
Willem Dafoe.
the decision making actually changes the plot quite a bit.
Yeah.
Heavy Rain had some very seriously different endings based on what you decided to do or not.
For whatever reason, when I think of Heavy Rain, I always think of Chocolate Rain, and I can't get that out of my head by Tay Day.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a song. I'm too old for you whippersnapper music.
Not the Toxic Waste reference.
See, I don't know. See, you're just
Yeah. Fair enough.
old man is old over here. Okay?
Back to the analyses.
They were in this trailer really focusing on the decision making aspect.
By the way, I thought that was cool. I forgot that it's a decision-based game like that. So for
Right.
them to replay it and pull it back like that was kind of a neat little twist for me.
Also, another twist here is the first major trailer for this game was played from the perspective of an
And
android who's supporting the humans, and you are policing other androids who are revolting. And now this trailer took the perspective of the androids themselves who are revolting. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a lot like Heavy Rain, where it's played, where the story takes part from like 2 or 3 or 4 different perspectives, viewpoints, and not only are you making decisions, but you're making decisions with how they're interacting with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
So you'll play the narrative for a while as this person, and you'll have to decide whether the cop android is really hardline, and if he kills those androids who revolt, or if he's more or sympathetic. And then when you play the other side of the revolt, you have to deal with that sort of narrative you've designed, where you have a cop after you who's either really hard on you or he's sympathetic, right? And that was really cool about Heavy Rain, setting up the different personalities from each perspective, and then having to see how that results in events later. Well, let's move on. Number 5, Chris, why don't you send us to 5430? This was some actual gameplay reveals for the Spider-Man game coming up. I think it was just called Marvel's Spider-Man, right?
Yep.
Kind of a generic title.
Yeah. Preach it, baby.
And I think this game looked awesome. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think it looks smooth, man. I think you're right in that you were commenting on that nonstop about the smoothness of the motion.
Right.
I don't like the fighting as much as you did. I think it's still a little choppy. It's very reminiscent of like Superman on the PS2 to me.
Okay,
with the punching, and it's like all of a sudden they swang like 6 feet the other direction when they threw a kick at you. I don't know. I wasn't sold on that part. But my favorite part is how he is constantly doubting himself through the whole thing, right? Where he's talking to himself. He's like, oh, please don't screw it up. Like, I don't want to mess up. That's classic Peter Parker to me.
Yeah. Chris, did you have any thoughts about this?
I think it looks really great. It looks
Yeah.
like a lot of fun, but it does that thing again where in the cutscenes, it's like all of a sudden you got to mash some buttons. And I kind of feel like let cutscenes be cutscenes
Yeah.
and let the action be the action.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just the thing now. Like, when you play Gears of War, there's always those
Yeah.
moments.
I hate it.
Or at the end of bosses, like, it becomes real, like, smash triangle
Yeah.
or smash, B
I always
or whatever.
hate when they do that. It's like, let me play, and then if you want to do a cutscene, show me a cutscene. And I will watch. I'll stay here.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I like the scene right here where you put a little, like, trap right there, and then you call the guy over, and then he gets stuck to the wall. Stuff like that is going to be so cool. The movement in this game is awesome.
They have legitimately thought of a million different ways to web people.
Yeah.
It's true.
There. So kudos to them for taking something that could be so boring.
I love interactive environments.
Yeah, and they've done. That's a really impressive thing because it gets super old after a while if you just keep webbing. If it's the same
Right.
thing.
It would be curious to see how when you do an interactive environment, right? Like, is that thing always going to be available?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm also wondering if that I'm realizing
That was
now
cool.
rewatching this is a big part of the movement is how great the camera was interacting with the movement, like coming
Yeah.
up right behind the shoulder at perfect times. I'm wondering if that will always be true when you're playing this.
Right. Or if that
Just-
was for the demo.
Yeah, if it gets a little janky when you actually play the game.
Some of the fight scenes just seem a little unrealistic.
No, I love this. You are crazy, Josh. You're just being an antagonistic Harry over here.
And, well,
yeah, I made up a term for you.
Somebody's got to be a little bit more objective.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Can't like everything that Sony puts out, James.
I don't like everything. I just like 99% of it. I mean, I rate them on a scale of incredibly good to awesomely good.
Is there is there any reason for the new Spider-Man logo, like with the white thing?
Because they like doing that every year.
So is it just only a costume change, or is there any relevance to that? I don't know.
I think it's two things mixing at once. On the one hand, it's somewhat reminiscent of the recent Spider-Man movie that's coming out, Spider-Man Homecoming. It's not exactly the same, but it's much more comparable to that.
Okay.
But at the same time, it is unique, and I think that uniqueness is to sort of underline the fact that this is like not canon, right? It's like an alternate Spider-Man,
Yeah.
so you can kind of play around with the plot and the relationships and things like that. Marvel, much like Star Wars, is really thinking about what is canon, even with the games, even with comic books, even with the movies. And they're just being very careful about that. So I think by distinguishing his look, they're sort of underlining side story here, like not mainline Spider-Man plot. Especially since this seems like it's Peter Parker Spider-Man, and in the current comic books, it's definitely all about Miles Morales. So Peter Parker's more of a side Spider-Man.
I do like
now.
the flips that they do with him like that.
Yeah.
I think his body movement is super cool. I think you're right. I think it's a camera that absolutely sells it.
Yeah, I think that'll be the question is when it comes down to it, will the camera really be that smooth? Because cameras can be tricky things. All right, let's move on, Chris. Go to 840 if you would. This would be a short one, but they showed some DLC for a game that I loved this year, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh.
No, Horizon Zero Dawn.
You want to be the Bassmaster?
What?
The Bassmaster on Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy Bassmaster.
Okay. So this is Horizon Zero Dawn, open world, post-apocalyptic. I know that sounds funny, but it takes place so far in the future that humanity has rebooted, and it's back in kind of like a Stone Age, but with remnant technology that they use to hunt.
It's kind of like the 100.
Yeah. Also, there's a bunch of I don't know anything about that terrible show. You keep mentioning it though.
I used to have a haircut like that.
Yeah, just like that with the red dreads.
Red Dread Revolver.
Red Dread Revolver. That's a great name for Horizon Zero Dawn. But yeah, just more Horizon. It looks like there didn't seem to be much in this trailer that suggested that there was new things. Like I didn't see new people, I didn't see new dinosaurs, whatever you want to call them, the robots. So I'm wondering really how compelling this DLC will actually be. But hopefully it's good. Winter. There was a lot of winter scenes in the previous. There was a lot of winter environments in the previous game, in the main game, I should say. So that's not even very new or different. So curious about what they're really going to do with this DLC. Hopefully they blow it out of the water, but who knows at this point. Let's skip to 2830. Chris, I'm going to ask you to make some comments about this when you're ready. But this is Call of Duty World War II. After the press conference,
I hate shooting games.
Yeah, after the press conference, they said that we were witnessing multiplayer during the conference.
Yeah,
which
that was kind of.
There was no indication that it was multiplayer, right?
Like multiplayer co-op or multiplayer PvP?
He just said multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean it's probably PvP, but. Yeah. So you play a lot of shooters, not Call of Duty necessarily, but you play a lot of shooters, and you like World War I and II, and it was good for Battlefield to do World War One. What's your impression so far with where Call of Duty is going?
On the one hand, I'm excited because it looks like fun to play, and I will definitely play it. On the other hand, it kind of looks like they're out of ideas.
Well,
I think that's a fair thing to. Like, well, I guess we'll go do this again.
We need to make a flamethrower.
Because that's really where they started, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing about World War II, and even you might say like War of the last 100 years, is it wasn't all in Europe. The thing is, like, there's a lot more to World War II than what they've done. Yeah. Obviously, they did some of the Pacific wars in a couple of their games. But, I mean, imagine a game that is dedicated fully to, like, the Russian War.
Or the campaign to come up through Sicily and Italy.
Right.
Through the Alps.
Right.
Or the North Africa campaign. Or
or even just kind of, like, tell your own story.
Is there one where you can play as Rommel?
As who?
Is there, like, Rommel the Desert Fox?
I don't know. Probably somewhere. But not a shooter. Not a Call of Duty.
No, that's what I mean. Call of Duty didn't make that?
No.
That's, like, a really easy one.
Yeah.
There was the Israelites actually. I'm not. I guess it wouldn't be. I'm not sure what they were called. People who would identify as Israelites now actually had a whole lot of World War II interactivity during.
Oh my gosh! I didn't see that part originally.
What did you see?
He got macheted in the back of the head.
Oh jeez. Just saying that there's a lot of different peoples you could focus in on and their contribution to the war.
Yeah.
And and to keep it new and keep it interesting.
This is a fun side question. Could they ever make one from the Germany perspective?
I mean, I would say that'd be perfectly fine, but I think we've entered into an era that is too quick to get upset about stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, that would almost be like death for Activision, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think. I don't think any big company would want to take the risk.
I guess nobody would probably touch that, huh?
Yeah, they just don't want to take the risk.
Especially because if you
maybe Steam would.
You can't if you make it seem sympathetic or anything, then.
But plus the other side, though, is like if you are playing from the German side, then you're killing Americans.
Yeah.
And British and Russians.
Right. That's what I mean.
It would not go over well.
Yeah, that would not play well.
I wonder how well these games sell in Germany.
I don't know, but I know they sell very well with the U.S. military. That's actually one of the huge fan bases for these games. A lot of people who they always, every time they come out with a new Call of Duty, they always sort of send out copies to the U.S. military because they purchase them a lot and they play them when they're
Just in case you'd like to relive your PTSD, here's a game.
Anyway, let's move on from that. We were looking at number 8 here. I'm lost, Chris. Oh, I got it. 3135. Step aside, Switch. Skyrim is coming to PSVR. And in fact, we're going to hit all the PSVRs right now, starting with this one. So Skyrim on PSVR. Again, does this seem like the remake graphics or the old one to you?
That
was weird.
I couldn't tell you.
It's
probably SKC, the special edition.
Okay. So it's at very least that. What's with Skyrim making such a crazy second coming?
That is a good question. Because, we want a good RPG high fantasy game,
Right.
and Skyrim's still kind of the gold standard for that.
Witcher.
But Witcher's not first person.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
not first person. You're
And
right
you can't
about that.
create your own character.
That's true as well.
So it's a very structured narrative,
Yeah.
whereas Skyrim is kind of the last good first-person RPG where you can kind of create your own story if you want.
Yeah.
If your story is to be a cheese hoarding weirdo that steals every wheel of cheese you have and fills your house with it until it explodes and sends
Yeah.
you flying across the map, you can totally do that.
And usually in a
Can't
situation
wait
like
till
this,
Skyrim comes to mobile.
usually in a situation like this, I would claim that can you loop that just one more time? I would claim that the company is just trying to like pad their wallets by re-releasing something ad nauseum, but they have ESO. They don't need to pad their wallets. Like, I mean, that's what the whole point of an MMO is, right? Is to make a ton of cash there, and ESO is doing fairly well.
Well, they have Fallout. Bethesda has so many things going on.
Right.
So, yeah, there's nothing else like it right now.
Yeah. And they know it. Okay, now we can go to 33, if you would. You can just skip ahead on this video to 33. This is a game called Starchild, also coming to the PSVR by the company Game Trust. It looks like it's a platforming game. Remember, this is the one where I was like, oh, is this that first-person shooter being made by PlayStation?
Yeah.
And then it turned out not
It's
to
kind
be
of
that.
interesting, a VR platformer.
Yeah, and
I'm curious. I'm a little skeptical, maybe more than you, but
yeah.
I'm not completely against it. I would like to try it.
See, yeah, I would like. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm more of a believer in pretty much any genre can come to VR, and like the head can be mildly head tracking for cameras. You know, not fully where it's not one for one,
Right.
but there's a bit of a looseness to it. But this game really didn't capture my attention, to be honest. It's one of those games that it looks a little bit like it's floaty, right? It's kind of a floaty platformer. There's something about making a 3D game or a 3D platformer where it's really easy to mess up the feel of platforming.
I hate platformers that don't have really tight controls.
Right, and that's how this feels to me, just from what I'm looking at. Let's move on. Number 10, go to 3630 if you would. This was another PSVR game called Bravo Team, made by Supermassive. And it looks like they're just trying to bank on the first-person shooter, PvP, deathmatch style gaming. Does that seem about right to you,
Yeah,
Chris?
that's what I would guess from looking at it.
And it occurred to me while we were talking about this, when we were seeing it the first time, that you mentioned, man, why are the graphics kind of just, kind of vanilla?
Yeah, not quite as sharp as everything else they've been showing.
Right, and then we realized it was a PSVR game, and it occurred to me, VR, especially in the PSVR, is like an opportunity for them to not have to spend so much assets on graphics, right? Because it's
That is a pretty short little demo.
yeah, it's a
there.
little short. Bravo, the Bravo Team. You can go ahead and skip to 3720, which actually might be where it's going now. So just let it run.
Yeah.
But there might be some excuse in the PSVR to be able to make games that aren't as visually sharp, because I hear the screen is a little not sharp already. So it's like there's no use in having highly detailed games graphically. Am I making sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there might be kind of a jumping on point for companies to make games that usually you couldn't release unless they were really visually sharp, like a first-person shooter.
Right, because don't they say one of the most important things for not getting motion sick with VR is high frame rates?
Right.
And that's really the priority.
Yeah.
You gotta keep those frame rates. So it doesn't matter how good the game looks if it makes people puke when they play it.
So at this point, this is the game. I think this is Moss, right? 3720. Yeah. So another PSVR game made by Polyarc, as you see here. It's stars a mouse, and it looked like it was kind of adventure platforming with a mild bit of action. The graphics are nice. They kind of have a style to them. But not a whole lot to say about this, honestly, other than more PSVR.
Yeah, and it
games.
looks nice.
Yeah.
Looks neat.
Neato burrito. as
There
they
was
say.
this, was it
Classic.
released in the water? A little bit of a hint, maybe? Or was it coming up here? It's like a warrior mouse? He's got like a glove thing on? I don't know.
Does he have just like one glove? Is he a Michael Jackson mouse?
Yeah, look, he's only got one glove on his right arm,
Alright.
see?
Mouse School Jackson.
It's
Mouse.
right here.
Yeah, doesn't that look like the Spirited Away creature right there?
You guys just gonna skip over my pun?
So I don't know. I don't know how
I
that
heard
ties
it.
in or.
I hate you.
You can take your
Yeah.
pun back to Moscow.
Oh.
I don't know why you come from there, but
You should feel bad.
okay. Skip to 2045 if you would. This was Monster Hunter. Big swords.
2045.
Coming out
Monster Hunter.
early 2018. Not a game I play, but I know it's an important game to certain people. It looks a little different than the other Monster Hunters. What little I've seen from Monster Hunter games, the monsters tend to be really huge, and the action tends to be really
That's why you
fast.
need a really huge sword.
Right. But this game, it kind of seemed a little muted than normal. So this is Monster Hunter World, by the way, coming out in early 2018.
Yeah.
Let's skip ahead. 2430 remake of Shadow of the Colossus. I
Hey, do you
assume.
want to show the monsters real quick?
Sure, go ahead, skip. Let's just see.
Yeah,
Like,
there you go.
obviously big, but Monster Hunter tends to be like gigante, right? Just gigantic. yeah, bringing out my Spanish skills from high school.
Multilingual.
Yeah.
All right, where are we going now?
We are going to 2430. Maybe even make it 2435, but still, Shadow of the Colossus remake looks pretty good, pretty sharp. Graphics are completely redone. If you go back, you play the old Shadow of the Colossus, it still looks good, but it's an artifact of its time. This has got brand new detail, all kinds of cool stuff. Did you ever, Josh, play any of the Shadow or the Eco games?
Nah, I don't know anything about it.
No? Okay, well, you in these games, you fight nothing other than 16 colossal beasts. And they're kind of puzzles in the sense. You have to figure out how you're going to scale them, how you're going to deal with their movements and all the things they're attacking you with. And eventually what you have to do is try to find yourself up to their weak point, which is usually on their forehead or near.
Spoiler.
Well, I mean, it's pretty clear. Like, that's where it is.
Ruining the puzzle.
Yeah, well, no, not ruining the puzzle at all. Like, the puzzle is getting to that spot. And so it's sort of like using giant monsters and traversal as a puzzle to taking down colossal things. So Shadow of the Colossus, let's skip ahead. We're going to 2605, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. No gameplay shown off, only story, which is like the exact opposite of what you want from a fighting game trailer.
Right.
You might want to see the fighting, right? Not just the plot.
Gotta love this dense storyline, though.
Also, as people were worried, there's not an X-Men in sight in this trailer, which the X-Men were a huge part of the previous games. In fact, often like at least 30% of the roster. So all those, no more Berserker Rage, Wolverine attacks or anything like that. Pretty saddening for people who like, some of the previous characters and what.
Looks odd.
There is an oddness to it though, right? It's kind of.
It's almost too cartoonish.
Too cartoonish?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. The big surprise, though, is you can download a demo of it today. So if you're into this, jump on that demo before they maybe take it away. It might be like a beta kind of situation. They didn't say that, but they said it's a demo of the story mode. And then we're going to come up to our last couple things here, Chris. 3443. This is a trailer of a game called The Inpatient, excuse me. Also made by Supermassive. Looks like it's some kind of horror game, maybe psychological horror. Not a lot to say other than, look, it's a PlayStation VR game. So Sony really bringing the PlayStation VR
they really pumped a
experiences.
lot. And good for them, man. They're really like, this will be the year that kind of leads the way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this looks cool, but
Yeah, it
we
looks
don't
a little
really know
freaky.
what it is. So
Right.
But see, that's intriguing to me. I kind of like, yeah.
All right then.
Yeah. We don't need to skip to it. We'll just let this run.
Ah.
There was a little bit of Destiny 2, but honestly, it didn't show anything.
Just showed a lot of cool action.
Destiny's Child.
But not even like in-game action. It was
just, like, cutscene
pre-rendered.
action, Yeah.
Honestly, not really worth making a big deal out of. Maybe there'll be more tomorrow or the next day, and we'll cover it then. Finally, why don't we go to the most important thing, Chris? 3545. This is clearly the most important thing from Sony's press conference. Fishing DLC for Final Fantasy 15.
Best
Just what we've all been
Masters.
waiting for. This is why VR was invented.
Cannot wait to fish.
Oh, you're right. It is PSVR. I didn't even notice that.
Cannot wait to fish.
It's a PlayStation VR experience in Final Fantasy 15. fishing.
Gotta start somewhere with
Isn't
the
this-
giant cobra.
It's like the ultimate bro game, isn't it? Set in the weirdest fantasy world, where everybody wears black.
Hey, when did they get to the Final Fantasy?
Well,
Could this be it? Could this be the last one, guys?
guys?
Yes.
Once I get my Final Fantasy VII remake,
Anybody?
then we'll definitely I'll be good with cutting it. But I need to get the FF7 remake pretty bad. All right, well that was it. The Sony press conference, best cringeworthy and review. What was the best for you, Josh?
Oh, the best thing. I liked the Call of Duty. I mean, it's really repetitive, but I think the graphics and stuff were pretty cool. I thought it looked like a pretty good step forward.
Okay. And Chris?
I think Spider-Man. Spider-Man looks like fun.
I'm glad you said that because I was debating between saying Spider-Man and God of War. So you've said Spider-Man. I can say God of War. That looked great. I have not been excited for a God of War game since God of War 2. I played them all, but it was just I got to the point where I was just playing them out of obligation because I've played the others, you know.
Right.
But the new one actually looks legitimately great. Cringeworthy, Chris. Do you have anything for us?
I don't really think there was anything other than fishing in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
That was mine too.
Yeah, fishing in Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, I think you guys might be right on that. That's got to be the most cringeworthy thing. You know, bring the VR,
But again,
bring it to
I
fishing.
mean, that's the kind
I'm
of
okay with giving it a wide berth though, because it's VR.
They should have, do it and release it, but I mean that's
Don't
like one of
preview
your
it,
big
though.
E3 announcements.
Yeah.
Right. How would you rate this one, Chris?
I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. Lots of games, not a lot of fluff.
Josh?
I gave Microsoft a 7.67.
What did we give Microsoft yesterday?
I gave it a 9.
What did I give it?
I think you gave it a pretty high score.
Gave
as
it a
well.
3.
I'd say like this is just below Microsoft's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a 3 out of 11.
I'm gonna give this a solid 6.66.
Yeah, I want to give it a 8.7 because I gave Ubisoft an 8.5. I think it's better than Ubisoft, but it's certainly not a 9 like Microsoft was.
Yeah, I think I'd put it right there in the same.
Right. Yeah.
Right between Microsoft and Ubisoft.
Yeah. Okay, well, good job, Sony. Hey, guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Helps us out a lot. We're going to continue to cover everything we can from E3. Thanks for watching.